Hello everyone, I'm Brian and I'm back again, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the hotly debated Mora Pathfinder. I'm going to be quite honest with you, I wasn't particularly interested in buying this knife. I ended up buying it simply because my wife liked it. She wanted a bigger knife and the BK7 was too large for her hands, so she wanted this one because the grip fits her hands much better. So this is actually my wife's knife. I was not going to review this knife, and I was not going to purchase this knife because, in my opinion, I'm going to get this out of the way right away. This knife, in my opinion, is not worth the $60 to $80 that it runs. And the price on this knife, especially on Amazon, is so volatile. I have seen it go from $65, which is when I bought this because I wasn't going to pay $80 for it, and back to $80 the next day. I bought it and it was $80 the next day, and then it was $75 2 days after that. If the price jumps that much, then something's going on. But other than that, in my opinion, a partial Tang knife like this one, especially the length it is not worth that much money, in my opinion on the matter. But here I am with the knife, and I'm going to go ahead and do a review for you guys because I have it now. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out with the sheath. This is the worst sheath that Mora has ever made. I'm going to just put that out there. Number one, these tabs, while they are sewn on quite well and the material is quite good, you know, it's nice and thick, nice and sturdy, these flaps have no retention on them. Unlike the BKs, which have a piece of Velcro back here to hold them open like this one doesn't. So if you want to avoid slitting this off when you pull out your knife, and let me demonstrate, okay? Your knife is in, you pull the knife out, and you see how close it comes to this? If I was just pull it out without being careful, I would cut this strap off. And then the sheath is useless because unlike normal Mora sheaths, this sheath doesn't really have any retention without one of these straps. Now when this sheath was first made, it had no retention at all. The straps were the only things that held it on. And there were so many complaints about it that Mora actually kind of fixed it. And one of the things that they did was they took and tightened up the plastic insert. So now it actually has some retention even without the straps. I still do not think it has nearly as much retention as their standard sheaths do, but it's not as likely to fall out if the straps come off. Now, let me continue with this. It is MOLLE compatible, but the MOLLE doesn't have a clip or anything on the end to hold it down. This is the only thing keeping it from coming back out, as you can see. And then getting it in, because it's this weird shape, is kind of difficult to get it back in through those little straps. I think the whole MOLLE design on this thing was bad. Okay, I'm leaving it out. I'm not going to fight with it now. Essentially, let me go ahead and show you how the sheath was made, and you'll kind of understand why I think Mora could have done so much better. If you look here, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the piece of cloth comes up to here, folds over, goes up here, folds over again. It's just one long piece of cloth that they sewed together. I think they could have done so much better than this, especially with a knife that they want to charge that much money for. They should have just put a Kydex sheath that came with it. I mean, if you put a Kydex sheath that came with this thing, $70 is a reasonable price. But to have this knife cost that much with this sheath, I think you missed something there, Mora, and you need to take a look at it. Now, of course, as with all sheaths like this, it has eyelets here and here for tying. I never use those, so to me they're worthless. They don't do anything for me. But there you have it. The worst sheath that Mora has ever made. Moving on. This is the knife. It is exactly the same as a Bushcraft Black, with the exception of the blade is longer and it widens out just a little bit towards the end. It is still a 3/4 Tang, so the Tang ends right here. The handle is exactly the same. So basically this is a big Bushcraft Black. That's it. That's the only difference. Essentially that's all it is. It's made out of the exact same metal, 1095 high carbon. Great metal. It also has the standard Scandi grind that you find on all Moras. This also has the secondary bevel that the Bushcraft Blacks and the Garbergs have. This one also has it, so it's not technically a true Scandi. And the reason they do that, I just want to let you guys know, Mora does that, and most knife companies do that with survival knives or bushcrafting knives, because when you're batoning or chopping, that secondary bevel strengthens the edge. And without that bevel on there, a Scandi grind like this will start to wave. All the way down the blade, it'll start doing this number. So you have to have that secondary bevel in order to withstand that kind of abuse. Basically, it allows the knife to take impact force without damaging the blade. So it's an important thing. It's not a detractor, it's definitely a benefit. Just thought I'd let you guys know that. Now this spine is also a very, very sharp 90-degree spine, just like all of their Bushcrafts and the Garberg. So I have no problem with the spine at all. My issue is, this is my personal opinion, if you have a knife that's over 5 inches, it has to be full Tang. Because if you try to take this knife and do any kind of work up here at the edge, the amount of force, and I don't know if I can show it to you, you can see the blade bending right here. The amount of force that you put on that edge, and I'm not putting much, becomes exponentially more the longer that knife is. The longer a knife is, the more leverage you're going to end up putting on this spot right here. And with a partial Tang knife, I feel like anything over 5 inches will cause enough force to actually break the blade right here. Now I've seen plenty of reviews of people doing stuff that I would never do with this knife, and it survives. But as you guys know, especially my subscribers, I don't care if you do it 10 times and it works. I still don't think you should do it. Because every time you do something like that, you fatigue the metal and eventually it will snap. And I do not believe that this knife is designed to be as long as it is. I think the engineering on this knife is off. That's one of the reasons I don't believe it's worth as much as they are charging for it. But that's my opinion. So let me go ahead and tell you guys what I'm going to do with this. Basically, I'm going to take and baton with it, however much I may not want to. Now I have not used this knife yet, because if it does break, I want it to break on camera for you guys. Since it is a Mora, I'm pretty confident in its feather sticking and everything else. I mean, it's a Mora, it's gonna do that. My concern is batoning, and if it breaks, it'll be during that. So basically we'll go ahead and we'll get to it. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the stump and get everything set up for the batoning. I'll see you guys in just a second. Bye-bye. Alright, and we're back. Now, as always, I am testing this on a piece of black birch, because if you can baton this, you can baton pretty much anything. Now, I did end up getting a piece, has a bit of a knot down here, so we'll see how well that works out. So why don't we go ahead and just get started. Now, I want to let you guys know I would not baton anything bigger than this using this knife. That's my opinion. You can try it if you want to, it's your knife. But the risk of you breaking this knife is very, very high doing batoning, because it is a partial Tang and it is so long. I have seen it happen before. So if you want to risk the knife, that's up to you guys. Me, the only reason I'm batoning with this is to show you. Personally, I would not baton with this knife at all. That's just my opinion. But we'll go ahead and find out what happens. There we are. So it seems to be doing all right with batoning. I haven't seen to have any problems with it just yet. So I'm a little bit hopeful that this thing won't break on my wife when she's doing this. Like I said before, I always consider my knife to be my most important survival tool. And because of that, I do not, absolutely do not risk breaking them. And because I have seen these break and I am not confident in using it for batoning, I still, even though, as you saw, it did do fairly well, I still believe there's a risk of this breaking, especially if you hit a knot. So, my opinion, but now you guys have seen that, let me go ahead and do a feather stick on a toothpick. As I said before, that's going to be a standard for my Moras. And we'll go ahead and finish up the review. Thank you guys, be right back. Hello everybody, I'm back and I have my toothpick. So basically, I'm going to do this and talk to you guys a little bit about what I think about this knife. Now, personal opinions, it did alright on the batoning. I'm not going to knock it. I am still very concerned about the partial tang nature of the knife. Being as long as it is. That's just my personal opinion. You guys can take it for what you want. Do I believe this knife is worth the amount of money that they want to charge for it? No. I think if it had a better sheath, that it might be worth it. But with the way it sits right now, I do not, no. I'm going to be brutally honest about that. I don't think the knife is worth it. I think if you can find it for $60 like I did, alright, you know, I wouldn't blame you for buying it at that price, but I would definitely not pay $80 or more for it, which is what quite often they're asking for. But there you have it, a little toothpick feather stick, and like I said, it's a Mora, so I'm not surprised. But there you have it, the Mora Pathfinder. My rating on this is probably a 7 out of 10. I am concerned about the partial tang, like I keep saying. On a knife this long, I'm not confident enough in it. And for me, you have to be confident in your knife, and I'm not. So, my wife is, but I'm not. But there you have it, the Mora Pathfinder. Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Bye-bye, and have a good night.